What if I told you that the world you interact with daily is a false reality? The pill you take, your joy in life, is masking the truth. What if this dream was so real you were no longer able to know the difference between the dream world and the real world? This is the setting for We Happy Few, a brand new title from Compulsion Games that entered early access at the end of July. I'm Wise Gamer. Today we will enter the world of Big Brother as we discuss another indie game preview. Let's get started. Alright guys, so We Happy Few. I hope you liked that little intro, trying something a little bit different to set the mood and ambience of the environment that you're playing in We Happy Few, to really get into that gameplay and storyline. So let's talk about that some. So basically with the gameplay, you're set in an alternative timeline where you're in kind of a retro-futuristic city called Wellington Wells. It's actually in England, in southwest England in the 60s. And even though it's in the 60s, there's actually like kind of a, like I said, an alternative timeline and alternative history to our own. So basically during like the mid 30s, timeline kind of changes and deviates from where we're at currently in our, our own real world timeline here. And basically during World War II, the Germans actually invade and occupy England. So England is just rubble. Wellington Wells is pretty much completely destroyed. There's, blown out houses everywhere. There's very little left standing. It's really, really devastating. But during the occupation, the Wellies, as I like to call them, the Wellington Wells citizens, the Wellies, they basically decided that to kind of like calm their nerves, their guilt, their anguish for everything that they had done, they invented a pill called Joy, which is this miracle happiness drug that you take, you pop, and just everything becomes bright colors and magical and everything's wonderful again, and you just kind of forget everything. There's really a whole like Big Brother feel from 1984 if you guys ever read that book. Also a Brave New World feel as well. In Brave New World there's a pill like Soma that you would take, and if they were ever kind of falling out of line, they would just pop Soma. There's different characters that we're seeing in the trailer at E3 that is kind of the intro sequence that you can see here as well, where the main character you're able to start with in this part of it in the early access right now, he's like editing news articles and he's kind of like approving or disproving history. So you're looking at old articles from like the 30s and 40s talking about the occupation and the war and all this different stuff, and you're literally redacting information and erasing it from history so people forget. And it totally reminds me of like the Secret Police, the basically like newspeak that they made in 1984. If you guys haven't heard of that book, you really need to read it. You also need to read Brave New World. Great books. So yeah, later on there's like a guy that's injecting a child who quote unquote refuses to take his joy, and as soon as he injects it, you can see the kid just kind of turn toward the window and smile and be all happy again. And it's just like this crazy world that they live in, where they're just kind of living in this fear, and they have to take this joy pill, and if you don't take it, you're considered a downer, and all of a sudden everyone hates you and you're going to be outcast and all this different stuff. It's really, really cool. So basically, outside of all the allures to 1984 Brave New World, the world again is like this retro-futuristic Bioshock almost feeling in the 60s, and basically as you go through, you're kind of playing a blending genre. It's an action game with a story-driven narrative that you're playing as one of 3 different characters that will be available. Currently in the early access, I do want to say there is only one playable character, and you actually don't get any of the storyline itself. You get like the intro 15 minutes or so that you see at E3, with a little bit outside of the E3 trailer that they showed. And then there's like side quests you can do, and I started doing some of those in my own gameplay here too. But the game kind of has like a Elder Scrolls type feel of like sneaking into houses and stealing things, or finding random loot and stuff like that. You actually also have to manage hunger, sleep, obviously your health, like you can use bandages and things like that. You also have a thirst or a quench that you have to, basically like get water and stuff like that too. You can actually eat like rotten food to fill up your hunger bar, but then you have to take like anti-nausea pills, and it's really crazy. It's kind of interesting how the whole environment works. You're basically trying to scrounge and survive and get like metal bits to make different jimmies and parts and stuff like that too. And it's really a really unique blend of like some platforming elements of climbing up different buildings to find stuff, the quest elements of like an Elder Scrolls game of the side quests and everything all over the place, survival elements of any of those games that are out there. I mean, there's plenty of them out there. And then an amazing storyline that just really draws you in a really awesome environment. And the whole idea is that you're trying to escape Wellington Wells and this crazy persecution of a government that's just Big Brother watching you. So as you go through the game, really the gameplay itself is just super unique, I think. I mean, I know it blends different things. I'm making comments about it connecting to other types of games that it reminds me of. Kind of a Dishonored feel sometimes too, with the way the characters are drawn, I should say, and the way they act and everything. But I mean, overall, I think it's a really unique game, and I'm really excited about it. Compulsion Games is starting to build this reputation with me. Their previous title came out in like 2013, and it kind of had a really interesting gameplay element of switching between like a 3D world, and then you'd actually control a character in the shadows as well in like a 2D environment. So it's really interesting. Check it out. It's like $10 on Steam. Really good reviews on that as well. And really, I mean, that whole element just kind of sets this visual area. So talking about the visuals, I love the way this game looks and feels. I mean, everything is just fluid. Everything's really smooth. They're actually supporting ultra wide already. So if you want to play on like a triple monitor setup, which I do have and I have tried, it's really interesting. Like they're just completely supporting everything here. Really high end graphics in the Unreal Engine. And yeah, you know, everything just feels great. It runs smooth. There's not a lot of choppiness or anything. I'm playing it on ultra with highest settings on everything I possibly can. And yeah, you know, it's really interesting. Like when you take a joy pill, the world just kind of converts and your reality is shifted, and there's like a rainbow and the moon is 10 times bigger and there's no rubble anymore. Everything's just perfect. The roads are like rainbow colored and stuff, and just everyone's happy. And it's so interesting how they did that. It's such a great idea, and I really love the feel of that overall. Audio-wise, I think, again, they do a great job of setting the mood. I mean, you're in the 60s, so you got to think about that, right? You're in this kind of war-occupied Big Brother watching feel, and there's great voice acting through all of it. Now, I will say that some of the NPCs seem to repeat in lines quite a bit. It is early access, so, you know, maybe all the scripting's not done yet. It seems like every once in a while there might be like a bug or something where an NPC will just kind of continually follow you forever. Looking for like a handout or something like that, and they just want like a free med kit from you or a free bandage or alcohol or whatever you wind up having on you. And it gets a little bit annoying because they just keep following you and repeating the same lines, like maybe one of 3 lines or something like that. But they may expand on that. Again, it's really hard to comment on that. What's important is the voice acting itself is very good. The quest lines are well written. I don't see like a lot of issues with anything like that. And I really enjoyed, you know, the overall atmosphere that the audio mood basically sets there as well. Now, replayability wise, I always like talking about this. It's very hard to talk about it too much in a preview. Again, the story is not opened up to us at all right now. It's supposed to come out sometime next year. 3 playable characters that you can actually unlock later, and the stories are supposed to interweave together. So as you play one character, you actually unlock other characters, and all of them are haunted by their past, and they all have these different things that they have to urgently accomplish. So it sounds like there's 3 full stories at least here. There's definitely side missions. I want to say I ran into 4 or 5 side quests already, and I mean, I was only playing for a couple hours, and I wasn't expanding out too far. I'll talk about that in the drawbacks and why I didn't get too far just yet, but basically, I mean, I can just see this as being one of those games like in Elder Scrolls where you're just constantly doing side quests before you even continue to progress the story, and then all of a sudden you realize, wow, I put in 2 hours into this game and I haven't touched the first story mission. So it's just kind of like a really interesting game that I think will give you a lot of feedback. There is a permadeath mechanic if you want to play, you know, super hardcore. You can do permadeath with like a second wind, so if you do get knocked out, you can come back to life basically. And if you can heal yourself fast enough, then you'll be okay. There's different options to like replay through the narrative right now, which again, I don't know if that's going to continue in their full game. It's in there right now. And just, you know, a lot of things that I think overall will lead to a great game that I want to come back to, at least to play the other 2 characters, if not more characters are added later. And again, just to continue to complete side quests and everything else. Now, let's move on to drawbacks. So I did talk about that. The first one for me is the price point. The game's $30. It's in early access right now. I think personally it will be worth $30 when it's released, but it's not supposed to be released till sometime in 2017. And I'm recording this at the beginning of August, on August 1st, actually, Monday, August 1st. So I'm not sure when this video is going to go up, might be a week or 2, but basically I'm looking at it and, you know, I'm thinking 6 months to a year before I see this full game, and I'm paying $30 for it for what, a lot of side quests and a lot of promises. It was backed on Kickstarter. They hit over $250,000. I want to say a little over $300,000. So I think they definitely have the funds to make the full game. It's just a matter of, you know, okay, now that this game's out there, do I want to spend $30 now? Do I want to wait for more of the game to be released? They did say that they're continuing development. I will say that I've had this key for about a week now. They did give me a key for free, by the way. I can disclose that if you want. It doesn't change my bias. Almost all the games I review are free. That's just kind of part of the perks, I guess, of doing a review for a company, but it doesn't change my impact on that. But, you know, aside from that, basically, $30 is just a lot. I think it's a lot to ask someone to pay for an early access game that you don't get too much out of right now, that they're saying that like save files can get corrupted, your information could be deleted. The whole idea is just to learn the mechanics, get a feel for the area. learn a lot about everything. There's supposed to be like procedural generation and stuff like that, so you might want to re-roll. I know that items, definitely I've played like 4 different times now where I've re-rolled, and items are definitely like procedurally generated. They're not in the same area. Some houses are in like that you can loot are in one area, and then a different time I play it's in a whole nother area. Other items seem to be somewhat static, like the different side quests seem to be somewhat static right now. I don't know if that's going to change in the future. They did mention procedural generation. I just don't know at what extent that's going to be in there. So I just think that for $30 you don't have too much of a game yet. You might be able to have some fun for a while, but you might get bored. Personally, I keep learning new mechanics that's bringing me back to it. But again, until this game comes out in a year, I'm not going to get that storyline. I really don't have any of the answers that I want after seeing the E3 trailer of all this crazy like Big Brother stuff, and I wish there was just a little bit more story involved. Overall though, I definitely still say that you should pick this up if you have the extra money. I mean, if you don't mind spending $30 for a game that you won't be able to play fully until next year, and you think that it'll still stay like hyped up, I guess, for you next year, don't burn yourself out by just constantly running around looting every little baby thing because you said, oh, there's a new update, they added one quest, let's go knock it out. I think that'll burn you out very quickly. But if you check on the game, maybe play it for a few hours, something like that, then check on it in a few weeks. I mean, they've been doing updates almost every day since I got this key a week ago. And I just want to say, the developers are doing a great job at that part. They said they're going to continue to expand the area you can play in this current early access and everything too. So, I mean, if you have the extra money, I would definitely go for it. Gameplay wise, again, just summarizing that, 3 playable characters in the future, really unique environment, really unique theme and story. I just can't wait to see what happens with that. The visuals are great. I love the change between like the reality that you see and then popping a joy pill and seeing what happens there. Audio wise, again, voice acting is amazing, and again, that replayability is going to be there with the different storylines and just all the crazy side quests that you can do here too. Overall, I don't really like doing ratings so much, but I would definitely recommend this game. I think that it is something that you should pick up. Again, if the $30 doesn't bother you, go for it right away. I think I paid around that, if not a little bit more, for Superhot, and Superhot definitely didn't have as much story or replayability in my opinion. I mean, there's the time trials and stuff like that, and everyone loved that game, but I think this game will give you a lot more. All the links are going to be in the description like always. I'll have the link to the Steam page, pricing, where to buy it, links to the developer and everything too. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for welcoming me back to YouTube again. I'm sorry about the long break again. I have a video about that as well you guys can check out. Otherwise, I'll be back with more reviews and previews in the future. Thanks guys, I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.